nice, the leaves falling out of that tree?
Yeah.
Wasn't it nice when the sun came out?
It's a little late, but that's better than no.
We were worried about rain the entire time, and I kept watching up through the valley there, and that dark cloud kept coming, it's like it went that way. I thought, wow, that little hill right there is separating it, but, it was good. We appreciate the Lord being good to us. Anybody else?
I can't say it enough, and I'll continue to say it. I just thank him for being faithful and answering prayer.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, with so much going on around us, people we might not know personally, but we know them through people, how much sadness is going on. We really should be thankful that we are as good as we are,
Amen.
and I thank the Lord for it.
Amen. I tell you, I just want to thank the Lord for being God for me, to me, and appreciate everything the church done, for the anniversary card and everything. And just thank God for a little bit of time of just getting away. And you look at one guy that just didn't do anything. I'm telling you, son, I just found me a place to sit down and I didn't do nothing. And just tried to rest and recuperate and try to get the body going again. And I came back home and I had a dead battery in my van. I told my wife I was trying to figure out. I had a charger. I had a battery charger for years. I told her, I said, that battery charger I got whenever we was first married, whenever I had boats, and I used to charge up batteries. And I said, I'm trying to figure out how long it takes on that little 6-amp charger to charge up a battery. And I was Googling everything and looking up, and then it was said, well, we was gone for 6 or 7 days trying to recharge our batteries. How long is it going to take to recharge that battery? But anyway, I got it charged. I just thank God for the opportunity to be able to rest and to enjoy things. And someone said, did you do any fishing? I said, no, but I sure did see a bunch. I watched them jump back and forth. But I didn't do a thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I was lazy. But that's all right. Every once in a while you need that. Get yourself back online. I just thank God for it. Anybody else?
I just thank him for all his blessings, and I thank him for my church family, and I thank him for my family.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for that apple butter. Gary, you can't have none of it.
No, I can't.
I took one bite of it. You talk about sugar, son. I'm telling you what, the spoon crystallized with one scoop, and it crystallized. I said, told Pat, I said, I want you to look at the sugar. I mean, that stuff was sweet.
After next week, though.
Okay. Oh, get everything down. Didn't start. Okay. That's like one of the singers said yesterday. I thought it was so funny. He said that he decided they're going on that. They'll be doing that cruise. What, February or something? He said that he was trying to lose weight, and some of you's heard it, some of you's didn't. But he said that he's going to try to lose some weight so that when he get on that cruise, you can eat all you want, ice cream bar and everything. And he said he's looking forward to it. He decided he's going to have to bicycle for 5.5 miles a day in order to lose the weight that he needed to lose. And he said that he couldn't ride a bike because of his knee, so he's going to do one of the stationary bikes. He said it took him 3 days to find a exercise place, and he said he walked in there. He said he looked around at all that equipment, and he said he looked and saw this man. He said, good gracious, he was huge. He said he kept looking. He thought, that man's been at the buffet way too much, and he realized he's looking in the mirror. So, he just turned and walked right back out the door. Oh, but anyway, it's always good to have good laughter, amen. Anybody else? All right, we'll get serious now and get into the Bible. If you would, take your Bibles with me over to Proverbs chapter 11. Proverbs chapter 11, and then if you would, also find Proverbs chapter 20. And we're going to read one verse in Proverbs chapter 11, and then we'll read 2 verses in Proverbs chapter 20. In Proverbs chapter 11, we'll be looking at verse number 1. So when you find your place and got your finger in 2 places, you can stand and read, honor reading of God's Word tonight. We're looking at Proverbs chapter 11 and verse number 1. And reading correctly there, the Bible's going to say, a false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Now in Proverbs chapter 20, down at verse number 23. The Bible says there, diverse ways are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? Let us pray. Father, I now pray that you have your blessings on the reading of thy word. And Lord, that you just do what needs to be done tonight in our hearts and lives. And Father, we'll give you all praise and honor and glory for these things we do ask in thy name. Amen and amen. Thank you. You may be seated tonight as we take a look at these different verses of Scripture. Let me just kind of break down some text for you tonight from the Bible. Kind of give you a little Bible lesson here, if you would. As we look here in the book of Proverbs, now we know and understand that Proverbs, many a times one verse don't always go with the other verse, or one chapter don't always go with another chapter. That is true in the start of Proverbs and for the majority of Proverbs. It seems like it jumps around quite a bit. But if you look at it in general as a whole, as you look at these Proverbs, that we see that Proverbs chapter 10 all the way through Proverbs chapter 31, it teaches us about godliness and wickedness, and he gives us different little phrases that kind of lead in one direction. You'll see each verse, as you read in these verses, it will say, just for instance, verse number 2 of chapter 11 was looking at that. It said, when pride cometh, then cometh shame. But the lowly is wisdom. So we see that he gives us a good point and a bad point in each one of these verses as he has given us the Proverbs. So we need to understand, as we are being taught through God's Word, whether we are being taught a lesson, if that be out of the book of Acts or the book of Revelation, or out of the book of Hosea, as we've been doing, here in the book of Proverbs, we look at it in a different sense, that as we've been taught through God's Word, that our goal in life is always to better ourselves, no matter what it is, no matter what the situation is in life in general. We're always trying to better ourselves. What parent does not want something better for their child and for their grandchildren? And we will do whatever it takes to make sure our children and our grandchildren have it better than we did. And I'm thankful unto the Lord that my mom wanted things better for me and my sister growing up, and not have it like she did a lot of times. I remember my own grandmother's testimony of growing up, where she said many a times that they nearly starved to death. My grandpa, I guess it would be my great-grandfather, that would be my grandmother's dad. He was one of these sharecroppers. He was one that would go from farm to farm to make a living for the family. He would go and work a field for someone, and whether it be in South Carolina or North Carolina, he would go and they would stay there on the farm, usually in a little shack somewhere, and he would tend the gardens. He would make sure that the garden was taken care of through harvest, and then he would move on to somewhere else, because, sometimes harvest was quicker in the South or down in South Carolina than it was in the western North Carolina mountains, and usually it was for the same person that owned property in both places. So that's how he made his living, going from place to place. And she would talk about how they would be so hungry and how they would nearly starve to death. And I thought, boy, isn't it a blessing that my grandmother wanted to do better for her children, and that would be my mom. And that because my mom had it better, she wanted to make it better for me. And I, of course, wanted to make it better for my son, and he wants it for his children. So you see that the cycle goes on and on and on. Want to make it better for ourselves. Nobody gets up in the morning, by the way, and says, I think I'm just going to go out and make a mess out of my life today. I mean, we don't need help doing that. We pretty much take care of that ourselves. But nobody gets up wanting that their day to be a bad day. We want it to be a better day than what it was yesterday. And I'll be honest with you, I pray unto God that every time I get in the pulpit and preach, that each message I preach is better than the last. And sometimes it don't always work out that way, but I'm praying that way anyway, just so you know. I'm just saying today that we are that way. We should be, as Christians, have a goal in our Christian lives to flee from wickedness and strive toward godliness. So we see in these chapters that we're being taught how that we should be godly over wicked, and we should learn the lesson that God has given us. After all, He has given us the instruction book. And he has broke it down all the way through the Proverbs of how that we are to overcome the wickedness so that we can become godly. Now we understand in order to be godly, we got to become holy. Amen. And I believe it's possible and we can do that. We also see within these chapters the importance of having a balanced life. The importance of having a balanced life. Again, in verse number 1, chapter 11, it said, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So we ought to try to mirror the second part of this verse more than the first part of this verse, and try our best to have a balanced life. Having a false balance is an abomination which is to come, which is to cause disgrace to the Lord. Don't you understand tonight that what the Bible is saying, that if we have an off-balanced life, or we are unbalanced in life, and that's what I'm preaching, unbalanced Christians, if we have an unbalanced life, then therefore we are causing a disgrace to the Lord. Don't you remember many a time that your parents wanted to be proud of you and all that you did, and whenever you would do something that was maybe not up to their standards, you felt as though you hurt their feelings, as though you disappointed them in their lives. And I'm here to tell you folks, as you well know, since you have become parents and grandparents, it's just about impossible for your children to disgrace you and the things in which they done. Oh, they done some bad things. They need to be punished. They need to be corrected. But you know how that you were still proud of them because you look at the outcome of what they came out. Let me say tonight that we as Christians, and the Lord would want us as Christians, as his children, for him to be proud of us and for us to have a balanced life. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 11 says that a just weight and balance are the Lord. So if we are living our lives for God and we're doing what we're supposed to be for the Lord, then therefore, if the balance and just weight belongeth to the Lord, then therefore we're bound to have a good balanced life in our Christian life. But yet we all still seem to mess up. So if we have an unbalanced Christian life, it's not good. With an unbalanced Christian life, we how can a man understand his ways? That's what the scripture is trying to say over in chapter 20. Again, he said diverse weights, that meaning various weights, are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good. It says, man goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his way? If we're not living a balanced life, if we're not living the right kind of life with a just weight about us, then how can we understand ourselves, how we're doing things, or what we're doing, or how we're supposed to do things? How can we understand our own way? We have to get to the point where our lives are right so that we understand better about ourselves. I'll be honest with you tonight. Sometimes I try to figure people out, and I tell you, I just beat my head against the wall trying to do that. I just can't figure people out to save my life. I don't understand why people do what they do, other than the fact that if their lives are not balanced out right, then of course some things are going to take place in their life. I have a hard enough time trying to keep up with myself and keep myself balanced down a lot of times. And I'm talking about doing the things that I'm supposed to do for the Lord and not do things I'm not supposed to be doing. And sometimes we get those things crossed up. God's word says that diverse weights, or like I said, various weights, and diverse measures, both of them are like abominations to the Lord. Even a child, the Bible says, is known by his doings, whether his work is pure and whether it is right. So we are not fooling God whenever we're living our lives out of balance. If a child understands and a child knows when he's doing right and wrong, surely to goodness we can figure it out as an adult. We once was a child. We had it figured out. The question is now, what happened? Did we outgrow our education? Did we outgrow our wisdom? Did we just forget about it along the way? I understand that the older you get, you start forgetting things. I mean, that becomes a part of age. That becomes a part of life. We can call it a lack of hearing. We can call it a lack of attention. We can call it all kinds of things. They even got names for it now, like Alzheimer's and things of that sort, and dementia. And people are like that. I understand that. But we as in general, we forget more than what we've learned. And I'm afraid what we have forgotten sometimes what's right and what's wrong. We've gotten so confused with it. There's times we do things wrong and we think we're right doing them. Man, I tell you, God is trying to tell us that we are living an unbalanced life whenever we're like that, and we're not living our lives like we ought to be living. We can be unbalanced in many, many ways. Understand that an unbalanced eating habit can cause either overweight or underweight. Now, you can choose whichever one you're in. All right? Both of them are unhealthy. Being overweight is unhealthy. Being underweight is unhealthy. And both of them will cause problems in our bodies. So having a just weight about us when it comes to physical sense is just as important as us having a balanced weight in our Christian life. And I'm not talking about our weight right there when I say Christian life. I'm trying to get you to understand tonight that we are unbalanced in many ways. Unbalanced spending can cause either rich or poor. I sometimes have a tendency to follow the latter part of that phrase. But an unbalanced daily habit can cause troubles in our lives. Again, I'm going to say, you can determine which part you're in those categories. You can figure it out. I'm going to worry about myself, and I'm not going to try to pick out your unbalanced life. I'm just trying to help you tonight to get you to understand that we need to be balanced in our Christian life. The Bible says a just weight is his delight in verse number 1 of chapter 11. We should strive to be just, to have a just weight. Having a just weight or being balanced as a Christian life will create in us a pure heart. Can I say tonight that I am so afraid that there are a lot of Christians tonight, the reason they can't love like we were talking this morning, the reason why they cannot get accomplishing things in their lives, and the reason why they can't commit, the reason why they can't be faithful is simply because their hearts are not pure with God. Oh, you're saved. You're born again. You're going to heaven. And the Lord willing that the rapture happens tonight, you'll be called up just like the rest of them. But yet, there's some lackness of purity in your own heart because you are living in an unbalanced, stable life. God help us, is what I'm saying. But then, like I said, you'd have a pure heart. You'd have a good stance before others. If you have a just weight or a balanced Christian life, you would have a good stance before others. Have you ever heard anybody say, well, now, if they're a Christian, if they are a Christian, I don't want anything to do with it. It's simply because that person is not living a balanced life. I see a lot of unbalanced people in this world when it comes to Christianity. You know them, you can see them, you can tell them by their walk that they have with the Lord, by the faith in which they live, by the trust in which they put in God, by the way they worship, and by the way they don't worship. You can tell they have an unbalanced life. I pray that you have a good stance before others because you have a balanced Christian life. I'm saying if you have a good balanced life, you'll have a blessed life. Amen. God will bless you because it is of his delight. It is of him that we have a just weight. And if we do so, then God will bless our lives because things are panned out, balanced right. I couldn't help but to think that I was studying this message and preparing for this message tonight. I was thinking about during Bible school how we had those scales up here, and we had those buckets with those chains, and boy, them girls all week long, man, the whole time of Bible school, they was all excited because they were winning. Their bucket was heavier. And you know, sometimes I would fool around with it, and I'd slide the bucket, the boys' bucket, a little higher up on the scale to tip the scale a little bit. Of course, it wasn't right. It was an unjust weight. It was a false balance. And as soon as that bucket went to its place, boom, the girls would win again. It would go back to the girls. All like that all week long. And then finally, the last night, whenever everybody put their money in, I was like, man, I got to be fair about this thing. I put the girls' bucket on there, and it went to the floor. I put the buckets, the boys' bucket on there, and we figured, well, the girls is going to stay on the floor, the boys is not going to. And all of a sudden, something happened. The scale started tilting, and it kept going, and it started getting leveled out, and everybody was like, man, the girls' eyes was about like saucers, and they were like there, and the boys is like, is this for real? And all of a sudden, them scales tilted to the boys' side, and the boys, they didn't quite reach the ground, but they won. You know, I couldn't help but to think about that. How sometimes in our lives, we are so lopsided. We're all one-sided. We just can't get straightened up in our own Christian life because we're out of balance, and that's simply because we've not spent enough time on our knees. We've not spent enough time in the Bible. We've not spent enough time at God's house. We've not spent enough time worshiping the Lord. Hey, we need to get a balanced life to get it back on track. Amen. I don't know about you, but you can walk around like this all your life, and I'll be honest, it'll hurt you. I was thinking, a lot of times we walk around, we look around on the ground, we look for seashells, we look for money, we look for rubies, we look for gold, we're always looking down, looking for something. But you know, after a while, when you look up, you'll get plumb dizzy-headed. Why? Because you spent too much time like this. And I believe we need to keep our heads bowed sometimes, but you know, sometimes we need to keep our heads up. Keep a balanced life. Listen now, I'm here to tell you that if we have a balanced life, if we have a just way about us, then it will create a solid Christian base in our lives. We won't get sidetracked whenever we hear something strange being preached or sung, or something strange taking place in this world. It won't get us off balance. Hey, listen, when you've got a good stance, a solid stance in the Christian life and a good base, you'll know the truth. You'll know what's right. You'll not be tripped up when something goes wrong. Listen, I don't have to wonder on things in this world. I don't have to stop and just for illustration, whenever I see a bunch of people on TV on a commercial taking a beer and having a great time, hey, listen, I don't have to stand there and say, I wonder if that's right or if that's wrong. I know that it's wrong. I don't have to try to figure that out. When I see things that's not right in this world, I don't have to guess it. I know what's right and what's wrong. Why? Because my base is right. You see what I'm saying? It reaches further, by the way, than just us when we have a balanced life. Whenever we have a good, balanced, just way about us, it goes further than just us. It will reach out to others as well. It will cause strong marriages. Hear what I'm saying tonight. You live in a good Christian, balanced life, it will cause a strong marriage. So that when things come up, when situations take place, and strife and discontent takes place, listen, you don't have to worry about the marriage crumbling. You'll understand, hey, this is just something we go through, and we'll work through it, and we'll come out victorious. I didn't mean, now listen, I didn't say, men, that we just need to go ahead and just forget about it. When something goes wrong in the marriage, and say, well, she'll cool off later on, we'll be all right. You better take care of business. Amen. Ladies, same goes for you. Amen. I'm just saying tonight, if we have that just weight, it will cause a strong marriage. Hey, it will cause strong families. It'll cause strong families. So that whenever Junior or Susie comes in, and they've been doing something they shouldn't have been doing, they know it's wrong, you know it's wrong, but listen, it won't bust the family down the middle. It will cause strong family ties where the family can come together, pull together, work through it together, and come out victorious, amen. I'm talking about having a balanced Christian life. It will also cause strong churches. You know, a church is only as strong as the people in it. You hear what I'm saying? The church is only as faithful as the people in it. The church is only as spiritual as the people that are in it. If we're balanced out in our Christian life, we'll have a strong church. Amen. Oh, for the sake of the church, keep your life imbalanced. Keep your life strong. Because an unbalanced Christian, oh, by the way, there are other words that we can use that will explain the word unbalanced, such as unfaithful, uncommitted, unloyal. They all fit the bill. I'm just saying tonight, but we're talking about being unbalanced. We have unbalanced Christian life. We have messed up and we have mixed up marriages because of it. Somewhere along the way, something got messed up. I'm just saying. Nowadays, we see men with men, women with women. We see people shacking up of all ages. It just isn't the young anymore. It's the older ones now for insurance purposes. Baloney. Come on now, don't y'all get quiet on me back there. You say, but now preacher, that's somebody in my family. God help them. Amen. You talking about this message? Get the CD and take it to them, amen. I'm just saying, hey, we got messed up, mixed up somewhere along the way. We got people shacking up with no intentions of ever getting married. Kids that are brought up confused. They don't know who parents are. They don't know what their parents are. They don't even know where their parents is anymore. Because we've got such an unbalanced Christian life. We have an unbalanced marriage life. You hear what I'm saying? Now, used to, the preachers would preach this type of message and on this area of the message and be pointing his finger at the lost and dying world. But folks, we're pointing our fingers in the church house today because it's just as much in the church as it is anywhere else. I'll be honest with you. I have seen in churches today people on this side of the church get a divorce and go over here and marry somebody on this side of the church and still go to the same church. Now that's how messed up we are. Am I not preaching right? It's about the truth tonight, folks. I'm telling you. Now I understand you see that in bigger churches, and don't nobody worry. I'm not trying to get anybody match made on one side or the other in this church. But I'm telling you, folks, that stuff's going on. It's happening. Can I say that we are now having messed up and mixed up families, amen, in our churches, messed up families in this world simply because of unbalanced Christian lives. I grew up with so many sets of grandparents. Are you hearing me? I was brought up with so many sets of grandparents, it was pitiful. I didn't know who to call Papa, who to call Grandpa, or who was who in our family. Hey, I had grandmothers all by the same name, by one man. Hey, listen, I grew up seeing people marrying in their own family and was marrying cousins, didn't even know it until after they was married. They got to talking about their family tree and come to find out that's kin to one another. I'm just saying tonight. Don't y'all look at me like it's going on. I'm just saying tonight. That I'm talking about families that's unbalanced because Christians are unbalanced. Where's our family values? Where's our family standards? We are so mixed up and messed up that all of our cousins or all of our causes has messed up the churches. We wonder why God can't even bless our church today because we're so messed up. We're all confused. Well, I'm telling you, we need God's help. Amen. Now, you say, preacher, what's the answer? What's the answer to all this that we're talking about? God plainly gives us state. Now, follow with me here for just a moment. I'm not reading every verse. I'm reading a part of each verse a little bit here for a few moments. In verse number 3, the Bible says, the integrity of the upright shall guide them. Here's the answer. Here's the answer to have a balanced life, not have an unbalanced life. It says the integrity, you know what that means. That means being honest, of the upright shall guide them. In other words, let what's right guide you to what's right. That's pretty simple. Verse number 4 says, the latter part, not the first part, it says, but the righteousness delivereth them, delivereth from death. Verse 5, the Bible says, the righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way. Look at verse 6. The righteousness of the upright shall deliver them. Look at verse number 8. The righteous is delivered out of trouble. I'm just saying tonight, if you'll understand, it's the righteousness of our lives that will keep us balanced, that will help us to keep us from being unbalanced. You got to rest upon the decision you made that you're going to live right and do right and commit yourself to that decision. Look with me. Verse number 10. When it goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoiceth. And when the wicked perish, there is shouting. You want to know how to get things right? You want to know how to get it all balanced out? You go after righteousness. And the wicked will perish, and then we'll all shout. We'll get where we need to be. Again, I think back to those kids one more time. Whenever that teeter-totter balance got straightened out and it went over, the cheers went up. I even seen some of the girls clapping for the boys because the boys finally beat them. After all these years, they finally won. They were like, finally, got that monkey off our back. We'll beat them next year. I'm just saying tonight, that whenever we do right, live right, get righteous, get balanced, then we're able to shout. Why? Because we've got our lives balanced like it should be. Tonight, church, I want to encourage you. If you've got any area in your life that's kind of unbalanced, get it balanced out. If you're not spending enough time on your knees, spend a little more time. If you've not been in the Word long enough, stay a little longer. If you've not been in the altar long enough, stay a little longer. I've never in my life seen people in this day and time we're living in, whenever people do get in the altar, they'll come to the altar, we can't even get through one verse being sung before they're up and back to their pew. And you're like, good gracious, did they get it fixed? Did they get it right? What was going on? I seen a preacher one time during a camp meeting revival. That Brother Sammy Allen was his name, from out of Georgia. And as a young lady came to the altar, she got down to pray. Now I tell you, I don't have this kind of boldness. He didn't. She got down to pray, and altar call was going on. She gets up, started to go back to her seat. He went, lady, whoa, young lady. He said, where are you going? She just kind of looked at him. He said, you didn't spend enough time in the altar. Get in the altar. Get back on your knees. You pray until you pray through. Don't just give some little sissy prayer and get back to your seat. Get in the altar and get a hold of God. Man, I tell you, she didn't want to move. And the service was over, and she still was in the altar. Sometimes we need to get it, you need to understand. Don't move until you get it taken care of. Don't quit praying until you get your answer from God. Don't quit trying in this Christian life until you get it balanced out. Let's go to the Lord in prayer tonight. Father, I am so grateful and thankful for thy word and what it teaches us. Help us to show us our way. Sometimes our ways are not right. But Lord, for us to understand our ways, we need to have a balanced life. Just wait about us. I pray, God, that you'd help us, that we'd always do what's right. And God, we'll give you praise for it. Go with us now through this week as we face it. Lord, if you shall tarry and we have to go through it, I pray, God, that you bring us back again. We'll worship you one more time. For these things, ask in thy name. Amen. Amen. God bless you. Thank you for coming out.